Hey there, my friend. It's Tricia Carr. Real quick before we head into this episode, I just want to make sure that you know about Modern Mystic Life, a subscription service for spiritual mentoring and education. The monthly subscription is only $11.11 per month. We have regular support and inspiration delivered with the utmost ease right into your text messenger 2 to 4 times per week. You can use your mobile device or your desktop messenger to access the lessons and meditations, a monthly MP3 download of a produced meditation, at least once per month live meditation led by me. There is no account login, and we have a monthly live class workshop. These are usually $35 for non-subscribers, so it is quite a deal. And the community is amazing. This is a way for you to support the Charmed Life podcast and also a way for us to be able to work more closely together. So do check out how you can subscribe in the show notes. I hope to see you there. Hello and welcome to the Charmed Life podcast. This podcast is all about magic, metaphysics, mysticism, and the unconditional love of the universe. And I am your host. My name is Tricia Carr. I want to start this episode with my deepest gratitude and appreciation to you. My heart is just so wide open and expanded as I tap into the energy of you who are here listening. Yes, it's true. We are quantumly present, if you will. I think I just made up that phrase. But I do actually spend time in the recording of these episodes, whether it's with a conversation partner or if it's when I do solo episodes. I spend time. It's not time. My intention, the way that I work it is I hook into the energy of those who would be listening, because spirit is not limited by time or space. And I'm pulling in empathically your perspective. That's my intention, as I said, your questions. And I intend to serve it and help us, if it's a guest, help us to steer the conversation in those ways. Just thought I would share that because you bring so much to everything that you do in your life, but you bring so much to this podcast when you listen to it. You really do. So thank you for that, because the questions, the queries, the vulnerabilities, the openness in your heart as you listen actually blesses others. I don't know if you realize that. It's just kind of cool to talk about it sometimes so we can realize that we are impacting others in the different ways that we are being and then acting from that being space. So thank you for that. And yes, I am Tricia Carr. I'm your host here. And I want to make sure that you also know that it would be great if you joined my newsletter, because, by the way, if you live in Los Angeles, I am starting to do it's not quite time to announce it yet, but I will be announcing it on the newsletter probably first, or maybe on Instagram. In Los Angeles, I'm doing in-person events, and they are amazing. I'm going to be doing them with my friend, Aiden Demarest, who was my co-host of a podcast that we were doing for a while there called Enlightened AF, and we're going to be starting that podcast again. And oh my goodness, it's going to be fun. By the way, you'll be able to check out the different events that are local in LA by live streaming, whether it's on the podcast or live streaming on Instagram and all those different things. So anyway, just want to connect with you in a lot of different ways. And, I have programs. I'm doing 3 programs. Well, one at the end of 22, which is my easy intuition and meditation coaching to help you to fall in love with meditation, to help you to develop a daily practice of divination for yourself for personal guidance or to expand it. And also to learn a bit about human design. All right, my guest today, Alysa Rushton, also has different ways that you can connect with her and other like-hearted, light-hearted people moving through their spiritual expansion and experience. Well, those are just some things I wanted to connect with you on as we head into this really amazing episode with Alysa Rushton, a globally acclaimed energy intuitive. Alysa Rushton went from dying on the toilet from an overdose of 28 medications Western medicine had told her she needed to manage her multiple autoimmune diseases, to healing herself and bringing back guidance from the other side. Now she teaches people all over the world how they can step beyond past limitations, addictions, and truly heal themselves on every level and embody your true divine self. We talk about quantum manifesting in this episode, and we also talk about that near-death experience, or her actually death experience. And so I am really excited to present, to platform to you, this wonderful light, Alysa Rushton. So welcome to this conscious conversation, and I will chat with you on the other side. Alysa, I am so excited. I already had fun with you right before we hit record. As I say that, I love to do these podcasts because I feel like it's just an opportunity to become BFFs. And I feel like we already are. So welcome to the podcast. And I'm just dying to hear all about your journey and the work that you're doing. So can you shine your light on the Charmed Life audience and get us into all of that amazing stuff that you have for us today?
Oh my gosh, Tricia, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you, first of all, for having me. And yeah, well, first of all, I was browsing some of your topics and some of your YouTube channel, and I was looking at some of the things that your people love to hear about. And I'm so excited because you who are listening right now, I'm just thrilled to connect with you guys. So thank you for being here. And I'm so excited about what's going to commence today, because like you said, we've been talking behind the scenes about some really amazing things like quantum healing, quantum manifesting, and really working with your life at a whole nother level, which you said something that I just loved. You said how, the spiritual seekers are already activated to a certain level. And I suspect you guys who are listening to this today are knowing that you want to activate at that next level and take your life up a notch. I suspect that you guys are in the place of having done an extraordinary amount of work over the last couple years specifically.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right?
A couple years have been something, huh?
Woo, a doozy for us all. And so my guess is that you're ready to up level just about every part of your life. In fact, Tricia, before this call, I am a coach to 6 and 7 figure business owners. And I was speaking with a woman who is like one of the many women that I serve who are these amazing entrepreneurs. And she's just unpeeling all these parts of her identity, one after the other, after the other, after the other. And I imagine that, it gets exhausting. And so I also want to give the listener today a little bit of hope to kick it off with, because I bet if you guys are like the people that I think you and I both serve, Tricia, that it's felt like a lot, but there's still so much goodness and so much magic and miracles and next level consciousness to tap into. And I personally think that it starts to get really good right about now.
Ooh, I like that. Yes, that's hopeful. The concept of quantum manifesting, which I want to hear you expand that. But what they're kind of dropping there, when I say there, I'm talking about spirit, dropping into my awareness right now is that hope that you're giving us is about, there is so much going on in the world, in the human race, in our paradigm, and that inside of that we don't need that. We know this if we've opened up our metaphysical awakening experience in any way. We know that it's not about what's outside, but it's really, really hard to live that way. It's about what's inside. But we can, I think, manifest from our quantum level so that the outside doesn't have to change, because that's the part where the hope is. We feel despair instead of hope, because the outside, what's going on, is so hard. But we can actually shift from the quantum level and manifest a different outside as well. But we don't need the conditions to be different, right?
Yeah. And I would definitely say that when you do shift inside, your life is totally going to get confettied as I like to put it. I call it a confetti. The universe goes, oh, you're ready. Okay, let's confetti your life. So that can sparkle that confetti up in the air, reconfigure it, add a little bit of glitter from the unicorns, and then reconfigure your life. So I don't know anyone who does this work that we're going to talk about today that doesn't get reconfigured on the outside world. Simply stated, when you take water and you freeze it, it changes state. When you take an ice cube out of the refrigerator and you let it sit on your counter, it changes state. So when you shift the molecules inside yourself, the subatomic particles, and you align with a deeper level of truth that is you, that you just talked about, we're all in this space of recognizing we were programmed into a way of being on this planet that, quite frankly, I don't think really serves us. And we're unpacking that, and we're taking one piece out of the bag after the other and recognizing, oh my God, we're not even the bag. We had all the stuff packed in our bag, but we're not even the bag. What are we? And so we're coming back home to ourselves. And we haven't talked about this yet, but I'm a near-death survivor.
Yes,
and
I want to hear about that. I love it. I haven't even heard your story at all, but I love it.
And so as part of my work here on the planet, one of the reasons why I got to come back is I want to help people understand who and what they truly are, which I believe is a divine ray of light expressing itself as and through a physical body. Yeah. And when you become conscious of that, then your whole world changes. But what has happened is that you and your parents and your grandparents and your grandparents' grandparents and all the people before them for the last at least 2,000 years have been programmed deep into a program of separation and lack and limitation. And we have to create something that's outside of ourselves, or we have to go to somebody to have them create it because we're not capable. We have to ask permission. And I really feel like this is just a time of coming back home to you and your home frequency and really reconnecting. And I call what's happening right now and the people who are listening to this bridge builders, because I literally see this, right? I literally see these people who are taking us from one way of being, building the bridge as they're walking across the bridge.
Feels a little unstable. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, it's totally wonky. And so we're building the bridge as we're walking across the bridge, and we know, we can see, or at least we're hopeful that there is another side. But yeah, I just feel like no matter what scenario plays out on this earth plane, no matter what level of vibration that you're at, which by the way will determine the level of scenario that will play out in your world, everybody's destined to remember. This time has been predicted, not to get too, into the wisdom traditions or anything religious here, but this time has been predicted across multiple wisdom traditions, multiple religious texts of the second coming. And it really is just the time of you remembering who you actually are in a physical body and having a wholly, totally different experience of life, which is amazing. I can tell you firsthand, I highly recommend it. It's incredible.
And we will be right back. Hello, my friend. I have something to share with you. Introducing Easy Intuition and Meditation Coaching, a 2.5-month live and interactive spiritual coaching and personal growth program. I created this program because I truly believe it will change lives. I do not speak this lightly. I have personal evidence that this training and coaching is a life changer. My life was miserable. I moved through the pain and the challenge by kindling a relationship with my intuition. This foundation is meditation, which for me quickly led to compassionate self-inquiry, to know my energy, and to heal my repressed emotions and traumas. And this was all brightened with the tools of divination. If meditation can break generations of trauma and suffering, as it did in my life, I know it can change anyone's life. I had guides, teachers, and coaches to help to light the path for me. In our 2.5-month program, you will receive education, meditations, and live group coaching sessions. You will be handed the keys to your own kingdom of heaven, and you will probably make new lifelong friends. It is perfect for all levels of spiritual development and meditation practice. This program starts November 1st, and you do not want to miss it. Thanks for tuning into your intuition. I love you, whoever you are. And now back to the show. Would you be open to sharing about your near-death experience, whatever part of it is that you're comfortable with?
I'm comfortable with all parts, so it really depends on what you want to hear. I think probably what's most relevant for your audience, though, is two things. One, I died of a fatal drug overdose
Oh,
of
gosh.
Western medication. I was on 28 different medications. I was at the end of my life. I weighed 240 pounds. I needed a walker to get around. I wore diapers. I sat and infused in um, a what do you call those? One of those medical beds with a PICC line, and I just infused with medication to tackle these diseases that were in my body. And this medicine was supposed to fix me. It was supposed to make me feel better.
Was it
I don't.
Oxy? Was it
Oh,
Oxy? Was Oxy involved? OxyContin?
no, it
Okay.
was.
I just watched the whole OxyContin Dope Sick series,
Yeah.
and yeah, so that's why I was
No,
in.
it was literally it's the end of life drug cocktail
Oh,
plus other medicines that were designed to help heal me,
oh.
for, like cancer patients get this cocktail. It's fentanyl,
Mm.
suckers, fentanyl patches, morphine, Ativan, Benadryl, along with the multiple, drugs that they were putting in to cure what was in my body growing, right?
Wow.
So it was a 28 drug cocktail, and they give people the fentanyl, by the way, who are really sick and not expected to live because it's so addictive that you really don't stand a chance of getting off of it. And it has labels that it likely will kill you
Yeah.
because it's so potent.
It
It's
is the
it's
one that killed Michael Jackson, right? And it's used in anesthesia, I think.
It's
It's
used in a
used.
lot of things. It's killed a
Yeah.
lot of people is all I know.
Yeah.
I don't
Mhm.
track it, who all it's killed because it would be too many people.
Yeah.
And ultimately was part of a drug cocktail that killed me. So what I think is really interesting right now is that Western medication designed to heal me, wink, wink, was responsible for killing me.
Yeah. Mm.
And so that's the first piece of what I think is really important for people to know. And the other part is when I actually died. So here we go. When I died and I popped out of my physical body, I didn't have the normal experience that people have that might believe in certain religions or have dead relatives. I got none of that actually. I got to pop up into what I call God consciousness.
Mhm.
And it was the most conscious I've ever been and the most physical I've ever felt without having a body.
Whoa.
So it was a physical expansion of consciousness that was elastic and plastic, if you will, in nature.
Mhm.
And I could stretch my consciousness in every direction all at once. I could go into all of the cosmoses, all of the multiverses, every plant, every animal, every person, every being, everywhere, all at once. And as I was going through this experience of osmosis, I had an understanding that most things I was expressing as and through had no idea that they were God consciousness.
Including the plants and animals and the minerals, or you mean like the human beings?
Including many things.
Oh,
So
okay.
it wasn't just limited, and I
Uh-huh.
wasn't just on Earth, by the way.
Oh, right. Okay.
Right? It was
Sure.
not limited to Earth. So to keep it real understandable, though,
Mhm.
if you can imagine, have you ever seen one of those security camera rooms where
Mhm.
the security guard is looking at 200 cameras across the screen? Have you seen
Yeah.
that ever?
Sure.
Maybe on a TV or a movie? It was like that. It was like God consciousness was looking at billions and billions and billions and billions of data points
Mhm.
with the consciousness wanting to come through, going, I am divine consciousness understood through this being. Does that make any sense what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And so with all of these expressions of it didn't recognize that they were also God consciousness. They only had an experience or perception of being just itself, a fractal. only.
Some of them did, some of them didn't. So
Okay.
some of them were very much understanding that they were God consciousness, and some of them were very much disconnected from that
Hmm.
consciousness. And the feeling that I had while I was up there was I just wanted everyone to be knowing that this consciousness was coming through them, but also it was with a detachment of I was getting, I meaning the God consciousness was getting expansion, and I was, all of these things were happening, and there wasn't any judgment. There was a lot of understanding, what we might call good and bad and horrific things and all the things in between. There wasn't any judgment. It was all learning and growth and consciousness expansion. And it was
Mm.
happening in multiple universes. So it was honestly, it was a lot to take in. When I came back, I understood a lot of things that I had no conscious way to know, like
Right.
quantum physics, like sound healing, all of these things that just were absorbed into me. So then, during that experience, I then left that beautiful, amazing, expansive area, and I went into this place that was very earth-like. So I had been in non-earth conditions completely, and I went into an earth-like place. And I say earth-like because it wasn't earth, but it
Hmm.
looked a lot like earth, and it was the same people, but everything was a slightly different color, and I couldn't interact with anybody. And I didn't know exactly what this was, after I'd come back, until years later. I wrote a book by Savannah Arienta. Have you ever read her book Frequency?
No, I read a book called Frequency. Maybe I don't recognize the author's name, but the title,
So
I think. Uh-huh.
Savannah Ariento writes this book, and I was reading the book, and I'll never forget this day because she described the world that I was in to a T, down to the sky being olive drab. And she said, "Oh,
Oh.
the sky was olive drab," which it very much was. And she said, people go to this etheric realm of the world where they can't interact with anybody, but they'll go and hang around their old people and maybe seek out people with addictions. And it's a healing place. And that's where I went. I went to this etheric realm that people that die of really tragic accidents and drug overdoses and suicide go for some healing. And so, what was really cool for me while I was there is I got some healing,
Mm.
and I got a group of consciousness that came back to say, hey, you can stay here as long as you like, and you'll get a lot of healing, but you don't get to come back into the Alyssa body. If you want to come back into the Alyssa body, you got to come back now. And as soon as I started to kind of cognize that, and they also said, it'll be the hardest journey you've ever had. It'll be a lot of hard work ahead of you, but it will be worth it. And as soon as I said yes, I got slammed back into my physical body. It
Yeah.
felt like I was somebody dropped me from 1,000 feet up and slammed me onto concrete pavement.
Oh.
So it was a cool understanding of how hard the vibration is here on
Yeah.
Earth, how dense, how tough, because the vibrations up there were amazing. I mean, oh, it's just so delicious and so yummy and just all the things, but it's very dense and very tough down here. So, yeah, so that's my near death story in a nutshell. And then, from there it was years of trying to fit my totally broken life back together, trying to, pick it up, pick the little pieces parts and teach myself some of the things that I had learned up there, bring it through, but also heal my body, which, I was 240 pounds. I had a laundry list of diseases, and I still was totally drug addicted. So it was
Mm.
about, getting my life in alignment.
Oh, that I'm just stunned. Do you have any, was there any, a lot of near death experiencers or death experiencers when they separate from the body, they're like in the room, or did you not pick up that part? You know what I mean? Like I was standing next to my body and I saw the body in the bed, or did you just shoot into the multiverses?
Yeah, I feel like this, from what I understand, that's more of an out of body experience that happens almost pre-death. So
Yes, right, before. Uh-huh,
you
that makes
haven't
sense.
actually died yet. You're
Mhm,
just out
mhm.
of body consciousness.
Right,
The soul's like, hey, want to let you know that there's something bigger here. So that usually happens when people haven't yet died.
right.
So I didn't do that. Mine happened relatively quickly, and I just died.
Mhm,
So I didn't
mhm,
pop up and out. I also think it was because of the amount of the drugs that I had that I bypassed some of that pre stuff. And I was
mhm.
out for a while, long enough to be lips blue, nails blue,
Oof.
some of the more unfortunate things.
Yeah.
Right. So I got to bypass the early stages. So it's funny because in Western society, we think death's just a kind of a one moment process. When
Mhm.
really, what's that movie with Billy Crystal? Do you remember where he's talking about, well, they're dead, but they're nearly
Oh, yeah.
dead.
Yeah,
They're
that was from Princess Bride, yeah.
Princess Bride, they're nearly dead,
Mostly dead. He said
mostly dead.
yeah.
Yes, yes. Exactly. So, some people only go to mostly dead. Some people go just a little bit dead.
Mm,
And so there's levels and layers of that. And I gather that the people who maybe go up and meet their family or, have these conversations with Jesus and what have you, they maybe are at a certain stage where they haven't yet popped up into a God consciousness state
mhm,
because, ultimately at certain levels of consciousness, there isn't he's and she's,
mhm.
it doesn't happen that way.
Sure.
So yeah, so it's just interesting to hear everybody's different levels, and how long you were out depends on how far you got, if that makes any sense.
How long were you medically dead on this side?
I
Approximately?
don't know.
Okay, they didn't say, but it was significant because you were losing blood from your extremities.
No, I was not losing blood.
Oh, I thought
To
that's what
be to
the
be
blue
clear, I had lost oxygen.
oxygen, sorry, thank you, okay.
Yes,
That's what the
yes.
blue is.
The blue
And
is no oxygen.
I know that there's, like, no way to really, calculate it because time is totally different, if at all existent, but what did it if you could somehow translate it, interpret it, what did it feel like to you? Like, how did it feel like decades, years, millennials,
Mm.
millenniums?
You know what's funny about time? Can I do this really quick thing on time?
Yeah, I'd love it.
Because, okay, I have this little book here from Diana Cooper, who I just love, The
I
Magic of the
love her.
Universe. Don't you just love her?
Yes, yes, I
You
have
could, I mean, honestly, like you channel her, it feels like.
oh, yeah, I do. I have
Mhm.
many of her card decks. I love her. Yes.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
yes, I thought you might. So, people think of time like this book of I'm going to open the
Mhm,
page and I'm going to read the first one and then the second one, and I keep
mhm.
going, right? They keep
Yeah,
reading the book, but what we forget is the book's all written.
yeah.
It's already here. It's all
It's
one thing.
existing.
It
Mhm,
all exists. So
mhm,
there is no time out there. Time is a very earth construct. In fact, time even
mhm,
operates different when you're on the moon.
mhm.
So I would invite the listener to remember that all of the lives are happening concurrently, which is why I talk about a lot about quantum manifesting, because there's a quantum version of you that is on a different page.
Yeah.
It's doing lots of different stuff, and you can actually quantum jump to that version of you. I have a whole class on this called quantum time jumping, where you don't have to slog through in space and time and read now number 51 page and read number 52 page. You can just jump at any moment to page 90 if you wanted, because it's already written. We don't have to wait for the
Mhm.
book to be written. And so that's sort of how I see time working. Does that help?
Absolutely, yeah. Just sometimes near-death experiencers will say it felt like 10 years, but it was 2 minutes,
Mm,
and I mean, yeah, I get it, but I
mm,
in case anybody was like, "But how long?" Uh,
yeah.
what I yeah, with time and it's like parallel lives, and because even the 11-year-old me is existing, you know? And that's why some things like inner child work, and that's why ancestral healing works because we're all absolutely on that quantum sphere, it's not even a plane, still correlated, interrelated, and it's, I know it can blow our minds sometimes, but because we are here in this body, this body is oriented to linear time because we do have a birth and a death with this
Mhm.
physical body. And yet, you know what I mean? Like those aren't real either. They're fuzzy, you know what I mean? When you said that you felt more physical without a physical body when you were free, if you will, it reminds me of an Edgar Casey quote, which I'm paraphrasing because I don't remember exactly how he said it, but he said, "Birth in the physical is death in the spiritual. Death in the physical is birth in the." I think I said it twice, but birth in the physical is death in the spiritual. Death in the physical is birth in the spiritual. Yeah. And so we are actually in a way we're dead now. Parts of us, our consciousness is turned off or dormant. So it's really interesting how then we somehow are fearing death, or we're fearing every moment of our lives, we're fearing death in a sense. Not I'm exaggerating, but you know what I mean? Having any worry or stress,
Yeah.
any doubt, any regret is in a way being concerned about whether we'll survive, I would say. But it's human
Yeah.
of us. It's natural.
Well, I would argue the point. I don't know that it is natural.
Maybe it's not. You're right.
I think in Western cultures it's very natural. It's what we've been trained into. I
Hmm.
think if you
True.
traveled the
Yeah.
world and went to Eastern
Not.
traditions,
Let me rephrase
yeah.
that. It's typical
Yeah, it's
rather
typical of
than
our
natural.
culture. In other cultures, they actually teach that you get birthed when you die. They are actually
Yeah.
teaching this. In
Hmm.
Hindi cultures, they teach you cosmic consciousness first before
Hmm.
they teach you to read or do math, because of the fact that they want you to do good things with the knowledge. And if you don't have cosmic identity first, you will not go do you'll not do good things with the knowledge. And I think that's what our very Western society has trained us out of, is we don't have that cosmic consciousness first. And to your point, the baby dies to the womb and then it's born into the human. And so I sort of see it as, as we die to the womb, we're born into a new level of consciousness. And as we die to the womb of the earth, we're born to a new level of even broader consciousness. And what I saw up there was there's so many more layers of that keep happening. It's not just a one and done. After you pass the earthly body off, trade in your Ford for something more cosmic.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember in one podcast a couple years ago, I had mentioned how I heard some, I don't know, scientist or somebody posit that they were going to cure death in our lifetime. And I was like, that sounds horrible.
Mhm.
Do not sign me up for that, because I don't want to just have this experience only forever. So, but I am curious about, after having your experience, did it shift your sense or perspective of the concept of reincarnation? I mean, I think it's way more complex. It certainly is way more complex, because it's not like, again, page 51 is this life, page 52 is a next life. So how can you, yeah, just expand on what the concept of
Hmm.
reincarnation feels like to you now?
Well, I always believed in the concept of reincarnation because I came in, as soon as I could talk, I was talking to my mom about, where's my other mother?
Really? Oh, I love
Yeah.
those stories
She
too.
was like, "Where's your what are you talking about? Where's your other mother?" I'm in. I'm like, "No, mommy, where's my other one?" We lived in this other White House. Where is that? So she'll tell you I had a strong remembrance before I could really speak well.
Mhm.
Um, so I personally think, again, I don't see it as linear time. I think it occurs for us here as linear
Mhm.
time, but I don't see it as happening like that. I see it as concurrent lifetimes.
Mhm. Yeah.
So for me, I also think that's a big gift, because if you're having an experience in another concurrent lifetime, I call it bleed over.
Mhm.
So you might have some bleed over into this lifetime, and you might be really struggling with something. So as a more conscious being, as somebody who is expanding past the current level of human consciousness and expanding up into a broader understanding of what it means to be having a very conscious experience, you can get that, oh, if I'm struggling with this here, I might actually be having, and you can tap into your soul. You can ask your soul, like, oh, hey, what's going on here for me? Can I offer some healing to this other aspect of myself? Or conversely, the other concurrent lifetimes that you're having, that you have amazing gifts, skills, and talents, where you know how to float an object like nobody's business. You know how to work those crystals, and you can use frequencies to move stuff about, and you can lift the heaviest objects like the pyramidal blocks without any problem. And you already know how to do that. So you can bring those gifts, skills, and talents in. And that's typically what I do with light leaders, is I help them to activate some of those more superpowers, those intuitions, those gifts of wisdom and knowledge that most people have really cut themselves off from because of the programming that we've had, the programming that keeps us looking at the box, listening to the box, eating from a box, living out of a box. It's the box life, right?
Yeah. Learning
Mhm.
from a box, a book,
Learning from a box,
Yeah,
right? Exactly.
absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I was, one perspective is that since everything is concurrent, that we might be pulling on some life, or like drawing from some life, and that so that could change even. So if you are thinking about it as reincarnation, then later you may no longer resonate with reincarnated, other past, if you will, lives anymore, because you've shifted and changed. And so you resonate with different parallel. I mean, they're all parallel, really, even if they're technically like the 1800s on this line of time on the earth or something. They're all really actually just parallel. I've had experiences where I felt like one of my parallel lives, one of the choices was sort of echoing, that kind of like bleeding over, echoing into my current life. And it was confusing me and it was distracting me. And it was just like, what if I didn't break up with my high school boyfriend? You know what I mean? And what did that time like? But it was echoing over here. And it was
Mhm.
just kind of distracting, but there was something to learn. And so I went in and asked my soul and did like a journey to just really bring my awareness down those different parallel realities that were happening, knowing that I chose this one for sure. So what were the different pathways? And that echo went completely away after I did that little bit of a healing. And it just like, oh, okay, I see it. It wanted a little attention. It can go away now. And also to bring in the learning and the experience of that without having, not feeling any regret or loss, and being able to do an exchange with those parallel versions of myself. Yeah.
Totally. And I love how you said you can heal it and give it some healing, bring it through to this lifetime, and then it sort of dissolves.
Mhm.
And even your identification with that starts to dissolve in many ways, which is just brilliant, so that you're not
Mhm.
dragging around a bunch of baggage. And ultimately, one of the things that I go back to as somebody who's died is the only thing that you get to take with you when you leave here is your soul growth, is your
Yeah.
expansion, is your learning, is your level of healing and mastery. You don't get to take any other thing with you. And so it's beautiful. I love that you're doing that work of healing up those parts and the strands and all of it. That's amazing.
Can you tell us more about the concept of quantum manifesting? How do you teach it? How do you experience it? Because I know we all want to manifest from that quantum space.
Yes. Okay, so it's a bit of a tricky thing about the quantum manifesting, in that I actually believe that we create, and and I like to say, one of the topics I asked you to talk about today is quantum manifesting, because people get the word manifesting. I
Yeah.
actually don't believe that we manifest anything. I believe that we create it
Okay.
consciously.
Mhm.
And so the old notion of manifesting is that if you are just a vibrational match, anything you want can come in. And I have actually seen so many people have such a struggle with that I wanted to be able to teach it differently, because, when you get hundreds and thousands of people reading The Secret and they learn about manifesting and they think, all I just have to do is be a vibrational match and I'm there. There's so much more to it
Yeah.
than that. It's like working one law and working only a part of the law of the universe. right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah, when the book came out, it was called The Secret, and it was like, "Wait, the law of attraction? That's not a secret, number 1. Number 2, why would you only work with that's like it's like a subset of much more important or significant, not around important, and significant universal laws." But anyway, yes, I agree.
yes. Yes, and as you just said, there's so many different universal laws, and to
Mhm.
only work with just one of them is like saying, "I'm only gonna put my car in drive. I'm never gonna take it out of drive, ever.
Yeah, good point.
One time." You know,
That's not gonna work at
or
all.
I'm only gonna drive straight. That's all I'm gonna do. I'm never
Yeah.
gonna turn the wheel, and you're just never gonna get to where you're going.
Mhm.
So I like to think of quantum manifesting in terms of, first of all, allowing yourself to shift any notion of manifesting anything.
Mhm.
Everything is already manifest. So thank
Mhm.
you for playing with me on the title, because I know it's something that everybody's so clued into, is the manifesting. Everything
Yeah.
is already manifest. It's
Yeah.
already here. It's already written. So what you want to do instead is align yourself and create, become a divine creator of your life, instead of trying to seek to manifest something that you may or may not know is even there. And so for me, that first piece is identifying as the divine creator of your life, really letting yourself identify
Mhm.
with the aspect of you that is divine energy in source form,
Yeah.
coming through in subatomic photonic light through your system, and recognizing that everything else is also that,
Yeah.
right? So that there's nothing that's not divine light. Even the stuff that you think, oh, that's not divine light. I can see that's bad or wrong, or, you know,
Mhm. Mhm.
because when you recognize that everything is made of the same substance, you're not holding yourself as separate from anything. And that just makes all the things that you're creating much easier to create. If I think something's outside of me and I want it, I then put up a whole set of energetic roadblocks in my way. So that's really the biggest thing to quantum manifest, is to understand that you are a piece of divine source energy expressing as and through you, and that there are other things in play, such as other laws of the universe. And one of the big laws of the universe and this plane is actually something that a lot of people don't talk about, and it's the law of beliefs. And so it's one of the reasons why I take people to the identity piece first, of identifying as a divine creator. Because if you have a belief, let's say that you have been working on manifesting that ideal partner, and you've got your list and you've been doing the journaling and the visioning and all the practices, but deep in there, you've got a belief that says, I'm not worthy. You will keep attracting people that make you feel unworthy no matter what you do.
Yes.
You might very well attract that absolute person that's on the paper, but at the end of the day, you'll feel unworthy and you'll lose them. So, with manifesting and creating, one of the things that we want to be doing the inner work of is looking at what's showing up in our world, and using it as a yoga mat. You know how when you do yoga,
Mhm.
you right,
I
you're
use
allowed.
this example all the time.
Do you want to do it?
Well, the way I use it is that, our challenges, our resistances, our mental emotional pain is gravity against which we push to make ourselves stronger. Like the yogi pushing against the earth to hold herself in position and relax into it so that she can build the muscles and become more flexible and strong. Anyway, that's that's what I
Boy,
say.
I love that. I
Mhm.
love that. I was going to go a little bit of a different direction. So,
Sure.
yes to that. And the yoga mat is also where you meet yourself. You
Mm.
see yourself reflected to yourself. I'm on the yoga mat. I see, I don't feel like I can do this pose today. It feels really hard.
Yeah.
Or, I wish I looked like that one over there. Or, look at me, I'm better than that one over there.
Mhm.
That you get yourself reflected to yourself on the
Yeah.
yoga mat big time. So I also think that life is that for us. It's less about what we're manifesting, because again, you don't get to take anything you manifest with you. It
Yeah.
doesn't stay. It's very temporary in the scheme of things. So if you can look at all that you're trying to create as fuel for your soul's growth and evolution, if you can look at, well, what's coming in and what can I clear, or what can I become, or how can I shift the internal beliefs so that there can be a different experience on the outside world. And ultimately, for me, that's the whole purpose of manifesting, because the other truth is I get to work with affluent people, and ultimately something happens when they hit 8 figures. Okay. And when they hit 8 figures, if they're not already on a spiritual journey, they're like, huh, okay.
Turns
Huh,
out this isn't what I needed or wanted or whatever. This is not satisfying me. Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Or they go about sort of ripping out everything that they've done and think they need to redo it
Right.
because it wasn't as satisfying and didn't give them the things that they were looking for. So they're still on that perpetual seeking. So for me, quantum manifesting, yes. Do I live in Hawaii? Yes. Do I get to do amazing things? Yes. Do I enjoy a good income? Yes. And do I love manifesting the little things every day? Yes. But for me, it's mostly about being a divine creator and seeing everything, every person, every being, every particle, every wave, especially the stuff that you don't like, as the divine.
Yeah.
And when you can do that, you will live a different life. Your whole life will change. You will be able to manifest things out of thin air. If you need something, it comes to you. It is just the craziest set of circumstances that will start to happen with your life. And you'll never feel like you're in lack, because you'll be so in lockstep with the divine consciousness that's as and through you, and seeing all things as divine, that it just comes together in just a magical and a delightful way that will surprise the human mind. Oh, will it surprise the human mind? Because here's the other thing about the universe. It loves to surprise and delight you. Mhm.
That's my signature. Do you know human design? Have you gotten into human design yet? Yeah, I'm a reflector, so my signature is surprise, and I often think of it as delight too.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Right?
Yes.
Surprise and delight.
Yeah.
And that is the universe. The universe loves to be like you, surprising and delighting people. And it would not be fun for the universe, or for you, by the way, if you could
Yeah.
predict all the cool possible ways that you could create and you could manifest these things. So to break it down, start to identify with the divine as and through you, and everything else,
Mhm. Yeah.
especially the stuff that you're like, certainly not my mother. My mother's not divine, or not my ex, or whoever, or
Yeah.
those group of folks over there that are getting
Mhm.
those things, or whatever you're thinking about, that goes to keep you as separate from
Mhm.
that which you want. And those ideas of holding people out of the light. I always like to say, what you hold in darkness keeps you in darkness,
Yeah.
and
Right.
so it's a process for me of remembering what I got to understand so deeply up there, is that we're all of the same stuff.
Yeah.
Even though we like to make a bunch of stories that we're not, we really are.
Mhm. Yeah, that's true freedom then. I mean, if I can accept that, let's say something like my abuser or this systemic, atrocity that's baked into our culture and society and financial systems and all of that, if I can somehow accept that it is divine, then I'm free of it. At least, you know what I mean? My heart is
Can I
free of it.
can I make
Mhm.
a distinction between
Sure.
atrocities being divine and something else? Because I do
Okay.
think there's a distinction here.
Good.
Um, I would say it like this: atrocities against humanity is only created because there's a separation from the
Mhm.
divine. There's an
Mhm.
identity
Yeah.
of separation from the divine. It's not that those things are divine, it's that the
Right.
people who are doing them have been so separated from their true nature that they're able to do something that's not in congruence with a divine source energy. So
Right.
when you have divine source energy as and through you, there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can no longer do,
Mhm.
right? When you have divine source energy, you're not going to be able to do a lot of the things that a lot of the people do. You're not going to really be able to eat a lot of the same foods. You're not going to be able to watch the same programs, or even if you have a TV, maybe you don't choose to have that anymore. You're not going to be able to participate in the same conversations. And it's not to say that those things are bad or wrong. It's just you will lose the desire to.
Mhm.
So when you have divine consciousness, you don't desire to harm things and to hurt things, and you're using the utmost consciousness. So I would say that atrocities, while I wouldn't call them divine in nature. I would call them based in separation, born in separation.
Somehow still serving divine, because in their contrast, they're going to show us divine. And I mean, the individuals who are a part of it are still divine, though. It's not possible for something to exist that is, but there is how far away from divinity something is. And so if something is a concept or a thought form, or, then that's more possible that it's not existing on all dimensions. But something like a human being exists on all dimensions. There's just no way around it. They wouldn't be a human being then. They wouldn't be a being. Even if they're turning the light off on certain areas. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And so for me, it's an interesting concept to get into and help people understand that we're doing a lot of the things we're doing today in order for growth and healing and evolution. And as you can re-see and re-know something in the light. And, I've had this experience several times where you are walking down the street and you see a group of individuals coming and you feel unsafe.
Mm.
You've ever had that feeling where you think, oh,
Mhm.
I might be in a wrong neighborhood at the wrong time. I'm not sure if I'm okay. Right. And then remembering, oh, wait, no, this is a group of divine beings.
Mhm.
I see them as divine. I'm not going to match them in whatever energy they're being in right now. I'm just going to see them as divine. You'll actually feel the energy shift. You'll
Mhm.
feel something happen. And I'm not saying don't put yourself into, dangerous situations, but I'm also saying this with animals too.
Mhm.
Animals know. I mean, this is what's so great. I've got some friends that swim with sharks, and there's a little spot that I go to, and there's always two reef tips out there swimming. And animals know. Are you in separation? Are you in fear? Or how are you doing? Because
Mhm.
they are fantastic energy matchers.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
the best at it, right? I
Yeah.
take clients to do a lot of horse therapy when
Mm.
I'm in Arizona at a spa called Miraval, and it's just amazing to watch how those horses will respond to the person's internal energy. So as we are going through the world, when we see those things that we think are outrageous, the more we hold it in separation and judgment, the more it stays there in the quantum field, because our consciousness, like it or not, is always impressing upon that quantum field. And so the more you then switch up into something higher frequency and go, oh, no, wait, I remember you as divine, even though you might not be remembering that about yourself right now, it impresses upon the field and actually changes it.
Mm. Amazing stuff. I want to make sure that everyone knows what kind of work you're doing now, how people can work with you, interact with you, what offerings, or yeah, what are you offering right now?
I love this question. So, yeah, one of the things that people seem to love, is I have a miracles portal, I call it, because I do believe that miracles happen every day, and I believe that you're in charge of making those miracles happen for yourself and working with the field of quantum particles that we live in. And so, it's a great portal to come into, where if you want to get trainings or teachings, you can kind of binge watch things as you would, and it's a monthly support mechanism that I offer of
Okay.
energy updates and energy insights. And that's the main way people come to me. And then, I do have some work that I still do with private clients and with groups of business owners who are at that 6 and 7 figure business level, they know they're light leaders. They know they're here to do amazing work on the planet. Or maybe they don't know they're a light leader. Maybe they're like a gentleman came up to me the other day, and he's in his 60s, and he said, I've heard about you, and I think I'm a light worker, but I don't know what that is. And I need some help. It's like, okay, great. So, it's really cool to see the amount of people waking up. But yes, so I always have offerings that I offer when those spots come available. But the best way to get in touch with me is on Instagram, because you can kind of watch from behind the scenes, see the manifestations as they happen, see the miracles as they happen, and get some nice support. I always do a monthly energy update or two, and I try to put out as many support tools for late leaders, late workers who are, I mean, honestly, we are all going through something very extraordinary, which I'm seeing it as an evolution of our species, is an
Yeah.
evolution in consciousness. And, that's not something that happens overnight. And it's also something that requires us to be different.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Wow, Alyssa, this has been just so amazing. I feel very lit up. All of my quantum particles are just activated. So thank you so very much for sharing all of this, for your openness and your commitment to teaching wisdom. Really, I think you are such a blessing to us all. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Is there anything else you want to share as we close out?
Well, I want to say thank you. And I just want to leave the listener with a little something to remind you that it is in the times of the most change and in the most work that we grow the most. In fact, one of my mentors, Wayne Dyer, used to say that every amazing leap in consciousness he ever took was always precipitated by an incredible fall of some kind, or an extraordinary period of growth. And I get that we are all doing an extraordinary period of growth and have been for the last couple of years. And I get the sense that the next few years are going to require us to dig in a little more. But sometimes I think there's a lot of value in knowing that where you are in the marathon of it, and knowing that we're not at mile 26 yet, right? We're still on mile 10, and that's okay. And to keep going, and you've got this. And the more you raise up in your consciousness, I will tell you personally, the easier it feels, the more fun it is, the more joy you'll personally have. So keep going and reach out for support if you need it.
Mm. Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. Thank you. I would love to have you on again sometime if you're available. Just thank you
Yes,
for everything you're doing.
absolutely. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. And you are such a bright light. So thank you for having me. I so appreciate you.
I was deeply touched by all of the wisdom that she shared, and also by the vulnerability in her story. Really inspired. She came back from literal death, and the pieces that she put back together, that's just a challenge that seems unsurmountable. So I'm taking away from this tremendous inspiration to build and to grow and to learn and to be more of that aligned divine truth of who I am. And I hope that you are too. I know that maybe we aren't going through an experience as devastating, traumatic, and downtrodden as having died, but we are having troubles and challenges. And so I just witness that if you're having that, and love you in that, because, I think that as children, we may sometimes get the message that we are conditionally loved, whether parents or caregivers intended to do that or not, because sometimes it just comes from the outside world in other areas. But I want to tell you that when I end these podcasts with "I love you, whoever you are," I mean that the truth of who you are, the being, and however it is expressing in each day, it is my heart's intention to let you know that you are loved, and I love you. And even though I probably extend love to myself conditionally, because that's the part of the journey of being a human and deconditioning, I have the intention in this moment to love you unconditionally, and of course to love myself unconditionally. So do check the show notes for all of those different invitations, different ways that we can connect even more. And also, if you want to leave a review for this podcast, that would help me so much. It helps the podcast to be able to uptick in that algorithm. If you want to share it with someone who could use some inspiration, a little encouragement on their journey and their seeking. And that's what I have for you in this episode with Alysa Rushton. And of course, I have for you all of my heart and appreciation. Thanks for tuning in. I love you, whoever you are.